Yeah, Coach. I mean, this is a matchup that you know a lot about, and obviously you had a tough game with them last year, and they've already played a really difficult schedule with several top 15 teams.
Seventh toughest in the country.
And you know what to expect from them. And what does this team look like to you, and how big of a challenge is this?
Wow, that's a loaded question, right? I mean, obviously, first and foremost, let's just talk about the excitement leading into the game. Okay, this is huge. Shout out to our administration for having men and women's basketball in state, in Tupelo. I've referenced this what UConn does in stores. Obviously, they play not every game in stores; they play some in Bridgeport. So I think it's great for our fan base and something new. And we're going to need that energy. To your question, Belmont's legit. They're battle tested. They played Ohio State, I think at the time was ranked 12th in the country, to a 2-point game. They just beat MTSU, who was Sweet 16 last year. Bart's been there. There's a culture about them. They're winners. They share the ball. And what makes them so tough is their 5 players can really shoot the ball. So they're going to test us with matchups, space in the floor, and then obviously playing on a neutral site, anything can happen. And that's why I'm urging our fan base to show up like they always do and show up loud, because we're going to need you for 4 quarters.
See him here in the front.
They say in college basketball, a lot of times you learn more about your team when you're on the road versus
Right.
at home, and you guys are gone for a long time.
Right.
You know, what do you think you maybe learned about this group that you have when you were gone for so long?
They're tough. They're tough. Even that Georgia Tech loss, I mean, what a game. We talked about it going in, and we knew it'd be a war. Georgia Tech obviously is ranked in the top 25. We had a possession there when it came down the end with a minute to go that if we made that layup, we win the game. You know, we didn't. And then for me, to our point, we've talked about all year, fail fast and learn quick. Okay, you go to Chicago State, who obviously, Corey Irvin, you know, we talked about that, I think the world of her, and I know it's at this time a lesser opponent, but what's your DNA? How do you respond after a loss? Because we haven't had any besides that one. And I saw a team that was determined to get after it, and I think you saw in those first 2 quarters that they put up 31. They were locked in on the defensive end, and they were locked in the offensive end. So I'm excited at where we're trajectorying and where we're going right now.
Ben.
Yeah, another lengthy road swing coming up. I wanted to ask specifically about the game out in Maryland. How did that one sort of get on the schedule, and you know, how excited are you for that opportunity against a team that you probably aren't going to see a lot of?
Yeah, so again, you know, what's this program about? You know, one of the big things we're about is experiences. And again, I can't thank administration enough for that awesome trip that we just went on. I've been in this business 20 years. I've never taken our kids to Disneyland, or Disney World, excuse me. No, it's land.
Disney World.
Disney World, thank you, because there's 2.
There is.
There's Land and World, and I was watching that actually the other day, and I always mix them up, right? So to be able to go there and play in the ESPN zone was an experience they'll never forget, and then to go to the Cayman Islands, this one's kind of the same thing. I've got players who are not from Mississippi, so I really try to do a good job, if the schedule allows us, to take them back in areas where their families can go see them. So this is a return trip for us during the Christmas holidays to get Destiny home, close near home, near Kayla, all right, kids that are in that area. And just most importantly, a time for us to grow as a team, because again, there's so many new bodies.
Kayla kind of had a slow start offensively for her standards, but she's had a couple big games in a row. How good was that to see?
Yeah, it was awesome to see, because again, I can't say enough great things about Jerk. Jerk is what you want out of any kid. And what I mean by that is too many players today, they value their effort on made shots. All right, and I talked about this early. You know, even though Jerk statistically wasn't making shots, she was giving phenomenal effort. And then also in her 5th year here, she's also passing the ball. I mean, her assist to turnover ratio is as good as it's ever been in her college career. So for her to do all those other things, I knew it was only a matter of time for the ball to go in. She's put it in the gym early to put in work, and now it's paying off. So now you got to pick your poison.
Robbie.
You know what you're going to get in conference play and the teams that you're going to play, but it feels like this non-conference schedule is probably the best that y'all have had as far as, you know, building a resume, but also kind of preparing you for what you got coming up. And what have you seen from, you know, the first few games and what you got coming up that is really going to help this team, whether it be in March, kind of getting in the tournament or making moves there, and also competing in this league?
Yeah, so I can't say enough about the Thanksgiving tournament we had. All right, for us to play a Jacksonville team, and I know we did really well. If you look, South Florida, they played them close. It's an 8-point game. So for us to make a statement, then to stay on the road and prepare just like we're going to have to in the SEC tournament. And we played 2 back-to-back games. Again, everybody else in the tournament didn't have to do that. We got the short end of the straw. And what I love, to a question you brought up earlier, Sam, is I learned a lot about my team, that we're tough and that we can play 2 different styles. All right, because Utah was run and gun, space you out, make it look ugly, and we did a heck of a job to find a way to win. And then we played South Florida, who ran 652 sets. Okay, and we found a way in both games. So to answer your question, where I love that is when we get to the SEC tournament, that we know what we've been in that situation with less than 24 hours, but most importantly, we could adapt to styles and find a way to win.
Jacob, you're in the corner.
Coach, I know you're preparing for Belmont right now, but what can you tell us about Louisiana Monroe?
Well, I just think it's going to be more about the turnaround right now for them, right? So that I'm more focused on us for that game because, obviously the emotions and how awesome that game in Belmont's going to be. Once that game's over, we got to flip the script, and so we got to find a way to go on the road and a quick turnaround. So that's more of my energy for them. They just played Georgia Tech last night, so that's, again, another team that's been battle-tested. That game they played Georgia Tech, though, was at Georgia Tech, and we got to go to their house. So anytime you go to somebody's house, you know you're going to get their best punch, and you got to be ready to fight.
No more questions for Coach?